skupaj z nami lahko delim trenutek ob objavi zaključnega poročila o oceni stanja spretnosti za Slovenijo. Spoštovani predstavniki sredstev javnega obveščanja, spoštovana ministrica, spoštovani gospod Šlajher z OECD, državni sekretarji. Vlada Republike Slovenije se je v letu 2015 seznanila z informacijo o projektu Strategije razvoja in uporabe spretnosti v Sloveniji po metodologiji OECD. 28.8. je sprejela sklep, da v projektu pristopijo Ministrstvo za gospodarski razvoj, tehnologijo, Ministrstvo za delo, družino, socialne zadeve in enake možnosti, Služba Vlade Republike Slovenije za razvoj in evropsko kohezijsko politiko ter Ministrstvo za izobraževanje, znanost in šport, ki nastopa v vlogi koordinatorja. Vlada Republike Slovenije je za nacionalno vodenje in koordinacijo pooblastila ministrico za izobraževanje, znanost in šport, doktorico Majo Makovec-Brenčič. Ministrica je tako podpisala pismo o pristopu Republike Slovenije k projektu, ki ga vodi OECD. Skoraj 2 leti potem, ko smo v januarju 2016 začeli z aktivnostmi izvajanja projekta, je pred nami javna objava zaključnega poročila o oceni stanja spretnosti v Sloveniji. Danes ob 11. uri so na spletnih straneh OECD objavili celotno poročilo. Z nami so danes visoki predstavniki države in predstavniki OECD. Prva, ki je verjela in odgovornost sprejela vlogo vodenja projekta, je ministrica za izobraževanje, znanost in šport, doktorica Maja Makovec-Brenčič. Verjela je, da Slovenija potrebuje realno gledalo, podprto s podatki, da bomo videli in pravilno ukrepali v prihodnje in ubrali ustrezne poteze na vseh ravneh urejanja države in družbe. Spoštovana ministrica, vabljam na besedo.
Najlepša hvala in prijazen pozdrav vsem skupaj, spoštovani predstavniki medijev, vsi, ki ste sooblikovali današnji dan tako, da ste svojimi mnenji videli prispevali k dokončni obliki diagnostičnega poročila o stanju spretnosti v Sloveniji. Znanje, kompetence, spretnosti so nekaj, kar oblikuje razvoj posameznika. So naša odgovornost, najprej vsakega posameznika in seveda tudi celotne družbe. Predvsem pa so potencial razvoja družbe. In prav zato je tako pomembno, da vidimo naše ogledalo, da vemo in spoznamo, predvsem pa da ozavestimo, kaj lahko v tem področju storimo še bolje, kje smo odlični in kje seveda moramo predvsem stremeti v razvoj tako, da bomo lahko udejanili ne le razvoj vsakega posameznika, ampak seveda vsak v svoji moči prispevali k temu, da bomo v svojem življenju zadovoljni, a hkrati v rastoči družbi. Še posebej pomembno je, da se soočamo z diagnostičnim poročilom, ko hkrati se ustvarjamo tudi strategijo razvoja Slovenije, kajti to področje vidimo kot enega ključnih za nas vse. Zato sem še posebej vesela, pa tudi kar malce ponosna, da smo zmogli soustvarjati kar z 9 ministrskimi resorji, številnimi nevladnimi organizacijami, predstavniki, socialnimi partnerji, predstavniki različnih združenj, zbornic, učiteljske stroke in številnih drugih delodajalcev, recimo, ki so znali povedati na glas, kako vidijo sebe, kako vidijo slovensko družbo na področju spretnosti in seveda kako z njo naprej. Danes je pred nami diagnostično poročilo, ki je pravzaprav kvalitativno objektivni presek stanja, kot ga vidimo vsi skupaj. Ne le da podaja izzive, seveda podaja tudi odgovornost za naprej. Zato sem zelo vesela, da je z nami tudi gospod Jarc, veleposlanik, ki je pravzaprav podprl celotno pot skupaj s svojo ekipo, da smo zmogli prepričati tako Evropsko komisijo, kot seveda najprej našega odličnega posmejevalca OECD in seveda gospoda Šlajherja, ki je svojo ekipo doprinesel k temu, da smo se diagnostičnega poročila lotili ne metodično, ampak tudi sistematično in tako močno povezano v Sloveniji, kot verjetno še ne prav velikokrat prej. Zato iskrena hvala celotni ekipi, gospod Šlajher. Thank you very much, Ray, for your motivation contribution. Thank you to Joanne and Ben, who had really motivated us all that we do stand here today. Najlepša hvala, gospod Šlajher, hvala Glenn, hvala vem, da smo lahko seveda danes tukaj. Kaj pa pravzaprav sledi? Pred nami je 9 izzivov, ki smo jih identificirali skupaj. Vsak izziv nosi nekaj v sebi, kar je že narejenega, hkrati pa seveda izziv, kako korakati naprej. In soočili jih bomo na način, ne le da strokovnjaki, ampak seveda tudi s širšo javnostjo, naprej nadaljujemo oblikovanju tako imenovanega akcijskega načrta. Kaj je pravzaprav okvir, iz katerega bomo črpali nadaljne korake in se v nekem družbenem dogovoru odločili, kateri so tisti koraki, ki jih potrebujemo najprej in seveda tisti, ki sledijo za njimi. Morda se vam bodo zdeli nekateri izzivi navidezno generični, pa ni tako, kajti vsak izziv ima svojo podlago in razumevanje, zakaj smo videli sami sebe tako, kot smo zapisali, in predvsem, kaj vidimo, da je potrebno še storiti. Pa ne le to, mislim, da je odraz tega, da lahko vsak od nas seveda ne le prispeva k stopnji našega razvoja, seveda tudi gospodarskega, odraz tega, da smo tudi skupaj z delodajalci, s trgom dela, z področjem financ, s področjem javne uprave, s področjem razumevanja okolja, kmetijstva, videli morda po sedaj tudi najširšo sliko vsega, kar že aktivno počenjamo v Sloveniji, pa ne le na vladni, tudi na drugih ravneh, in seveda tistega, kar moramo storiti za naprej, da bo opolnomočenje vsakega posameznika takšno, da bo najprej doprinesel k njegovemu ne le ustvarjalnemu inovativnemu razvoju, ampak seveda tudi čim bolj stabilni in predvidljivi prihodnosti. In prav temu so že sledile nekatere države. Veseli smo, da smo v ekipi prvih, pred nami sta Norveška in Avstrija, nekaj drugih, Portugalska, Mehika tudi pripravljajo zdaj tudi evropsko poročilo in vesela sem tudi, da lahko sporočim, da se je vlada že odločila, da bomo podprli pripravo akcijskega načrta in upam, da bo tudi tokrat Evropska komisija podprla tudi ta korak, kajti pomembno je, da ne le pridobimo sofinanciranje strani Evropske komisije, ampak predvsem podporo, da gremo s temi koraki v pravno smer. Zato najprej v mojem naslavljanju hvala vsem, da smo si upali povedati in hvala vsem, da bomo korakali skupaj naprej. Seveda pa je verjetno najbolj pravi za to, da nekako povzame celotno stanje in videnje spretnosti v Sloveniji, gospod Šlajher. Mr. Schleicher, thank you again for being with us and for all your support. I think that all today's representatives here are really, really keen on listening to you to see where we stand and where we have to go. Najlepša hvala še enkrat, mislim, da vsi težko pričakujete, kaj smo ugotovili in na kakšen način se bomo premikali naprej.
Minister, State Secretaries, ladies and gentlemen, it's such a privilege to present a diagnostic report, our analysis of Slovenia's skill challenges today. And it is a privilege because we had such fantastic collaboration with so many stakeholders, with so many government departments over the last 2 years to put this into practice. And this is necessary. Skills are everybody's business. They're not the business of schools or universities alone. They're also the business of employers and most importantly of individuals. It's about investing in ourselves. It's about investing in our future individually and collectively. And that's why we brought together from our area, the OECD, a whole range of expertise, but also from Slovenia, the whole of the government, plus many of the stakeholders in the diagnostic report that you are seeing today. We met with over 100 stakeholders in different 3 workshops at national, at regional levels to discuss, what are the skills challenge actually meaning for them. And I must say, we at the OECD have learned a lot and are very grateful for this. I learned a lot about what Slovenia can do to develop the right skills, relevant skills, making sure that those skills are actually active, that contribute to Slovenia's future, and that they are put to the most effective use. And that is really about a skills system. Let me just say a few words about the context. Slovenia is very well positioned today. It has made remarkable progress in equipping more people with better skills over the last years, but actually the future will challenge all of us. The Economist has come out with this cover suggesting that about half of the job tasks that we know today are prone to be digitized. The dilemma for education and skills is that the kind of things that we know how to do best are also the kind of things that are easy to automate, digitize, and outsource. Robots are taking over all factories. We have a car that can go through Ljubljana today without a driver. What is this going to do to the structure of our economies? Augmented reality, we're able to integrate the world's most advanced knowledge in real time into what we do right now. And that means the world no longer rewards us just for what we know. Google knows everything. The world rewards us increasingly for what we can do with what we know. And that's really what the skills agenda is so centrally about. We've done recently an exercise at the OECD where we actually looked at the capacities of computers, the kind of cognitive capacities that computers have. And when you look at Slovenia, close to 40% of the workforce are actually working at a level of cognitive skills that is at the level of where computers are today. If you look 10 years ahead, computers are getting smarter. It's about 70% of the kind of cognitive skills that computers are capable of dealing with. This is the future in which we are sort of defining what the kind of competitive advantage of humans over technologies is going to be increasingly important and capitalizing on that. Global integration is very important. We all talk about global value chains. That is, that it's no longer Slovenia producing something and doing it and delivering it, but being part of an economy where we share tasks according to where we have positioned best. And what globalization or global value chains do is that they place a rising premium on the kind of things you do up front, research and development, design, logistics. The production becomes cheaper because you compete with countries that can do those things at lower cost. But then post-production, again, value rises, whether it's logistics, whether it's marketing, whether it's servicing. And those kinds of dynamics are ones that we are increasingly better understanding. Basically, and this is all about skills, the pre and post stages of global value chains where sort of most value is being generated. And you can see the impact on the horizontal axis. You see that Slovenia is sort of an average performer when it comes to integration in the world economy. But on the vertical axis, you see something else, and that is the more you become integrated with the world economy, the steeper the gap in job quality between those who are highly skilled and who are not so well skilled. So globalization on aggregate is good for Slovenia, but it actually penalizes those who are not prepared for this. There is a risk of rising inequalities depending on the skills that people have. Now, Slovenia has realized that and has already, the 2050 vision spells out quite clearly what society should be looking at to face those challenges. And this is very much the spirit in which we have also phrased our diagnostic work when we look at the 9 skill challenges that I'm going to present to you today. Let me start with the easy part, and that is equipping more people with better skills for work and for life. And we should no longer see as work and life as opposing parts of a spectrum. You will see that they're actually talking very much about the same skills. Think about, the capacity of people to solve problems in a digital environment. When I look at older generations, 55 to 65-year-olds, Slovenia is not particularly well positioned. The past of your education was not as good as the present is today. Only about 1 in 7 people among the older generation are equipped for the flat world in which we live today. Now you will tell me, well, that's all an issue of older generations not catching up with our modern developments. But even if you look among the young generations, things do look better in Slovenia and in most countries. But still, we have only about every second young person moving into the labor market equipped with the kind of problem-solving skills they need today, not tomorrow, today. Of course, you know, there's also huge progress. You compare the older and the younger generation, you can see how much Slovenia has raised their head. But you know, you take a country like Singapore that started out from a similar point, is even further. So that's also an important message. You know, the world is becoming more highly skilled, and staying ahead means not just to become better, but to keep the pace of change that we see globally. One of the things that we observe when it comes to skill gaps in Slovenia is that a lot of the underperformance is concentrated in a few programs, vocational programs. Overall, you can say actually that Slovenia, much less so than the countries here on the left side, has fewer people with very low skills. That's, I think, a big asset of your population. But you can see you're much more likely to have low skills if you are enrolled in a vocational program than in a general program. So concentration of disadvantage. In the past, that was also reflected in investment patterns. You could see, different from the OECD average pattern. In the past, Slovenia used to invest the least where actually investment matters most. People who have lower skills, people attending vocational education programs. Now that has changed, so the future will look different, but when you talk about the present and the people out there, among those who need most of the investment, actually they have often benefited the least from this. We're also seeing when we look at higher education that universities should be more responsive to social demands. Employers always complain that they don't get the kind of skills that are important for them. And that's not a new thing. That happens across all OECD countries. But in Slovenia, actually, the share of employers who are very happy with graduate skill levels is consistently low. Much lower than on average across countries. When it comes to sector-specific skills, specialization, when it comes to engineering skills like, reading, writing skills, number skills, analytical and problem-solving skills, planning and organization, decision-making, and so on. So there is clearly a gap between what employers would like to see and what they perceive institutions to provide. So that's another kind of area to work on. And that's also an important point because skills are not just about degrees and qualifications. Quite a different story, the certificate that you've got and the actual skills that you have. The low-skilled adults, I already talked about them. What you can see is that, in general, older generations do not have the kind of skills that you find among young people, simply because education has improved so much. But the curve is much steeper in the case of Slovenia. And what that means is actually that there are a lot of older people out there, actually, who are not fit for the kind of skill requirements that they face today. And it's much harder. It's much harder to sort of incentivize, encourage older people to go back to learning than it is among young people. So this is an area